It's good to be here. I have been away for not just a couple of weeks, as Nick mentioned, but for 8 weeks. And as I was alluding to, old people need a lot of vacation, and I'm grateful for that. We spent 2 months up at our cottage up in Lake Ontario, up in northern New York, fishing and gardening and spending time with friends. It's my happy place. My kids and grandkids are there. But I kept in touch with you, and I'm thankful for John and Liz and Dave Sierra and the AV team, the great job that they continue to do and make it possible for those that aren't present to be able to worship. Thank you so much. And I was so blessed to be able to stay in touch with ministry of the church as Gene and I were able to worship. This morning I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, and that's the subject of encouragement. Encouragement is such a vital aspect for the Christian. And this morning I was thinking of some of the significant people in my life who have been encouragers. I thought of at least 12 people or groups of people who over the years have impacted or influenced my life. I'm different because somebody has taken the time. Maybe it was a coach, maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a pastor, maybe it was a friend, maybe it was one of you that took time to pour into my life and to encourage me and bless me. And I can't tell you how blessed I have been over the years to have those people speak into my life. One of those people that I thought of as I lay in bed, actually this morning, listing in my mind those people was Dave Furness. Diane, it's so good to see you here. People have been praying for you, and you and your family are such a blessing to us. This is the first Sunday I've been back, and Dave is no longer here, no longer walking up and down greeting people. Those of you who are here, most of you probably were greeted by Dave. And Dave is one of my treasured friends, one of those people who has poured into my life. And I'm so grateful for it. I watched him as he walked up and down the aisles, not only before church and during the first hymn, but often when people were up here speaking, he was still greeting people. And it was his goal, I think, to either hug somebody or extend a handshake or just bless in some way through the encouragement of touching. And that was a great, great witness to me. And I'm supposedly the connecting pastor, but I felt like he should have been the connecting pastor because he put me to shame. And I told him one time, I said, Dave, I am so blessed by the way you take time to reach out and encourage everybody. It's almost as if you have to touch and greet every single person who has come to worship with us. And I said, I'm just surprised because when I was your pastor over at another church here in Red Bank a number of years ago, you weren't like that. And he said to me, well, isn't your message to the congregation always greet one another? And I'm just simply doing what you told us to do. And I was so blessed by that because he's one of the few people who listened to what I asked him to do and did it. And Dave was such an incredible, incredible encourager. And so I share that, and this is not in my notes, but it just came to me how important it is to be able to encourage and greet people and get to know each other. I think our church is known as a loving and a nurturing church. And I was talking with John O'Neill about this. What was the reason for the change in Dave from one church to another? And John said it's because New Monmouth is such an incredibly nurturing community. And that's so true. It's hard to come to church without being loved and greeted and to be made to feel special. And so Dave was one of those guys, one of my treasured memories. And I'd ask you, as we think about the subject of encouragement, is there someone in your life that has impacted you or influenced you? Your life is different because of the encouragement that they have given you. Your life is different because of them. Someone said, "Flatter me and I may not believe you. Criticize me and I may not like you. Ignore me and I may never forgive you. But encourage me and I will never forget you." Are there people in your life that you will never forget? Somebody like a Dave Furness who stood out and made a difference because he made you feel welcome. He made you feel loved. This morning, that's what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about what is encouragement and why encouragement is so important. And I want to share with you maybe a few thoughts or ideas about how you can be an encourager of others. There are a few gifts that we can give that are more valuable, that are easier to give, that take less effort than speaking words of encouragement to people. Mother Teresa said it well. She said, "Kind words are short and easy to speak, but their echoes are endless." And how grateful I am for the echoes of Dave's ministry, the echoes of coaches that I've had in my life, a pastor, many of you. I have a treasured repository of memories right here. It's a Bible that I used to use. And in this Bible, I have notes, many of them from you, notes of encouragement, letters, cards. And from time to time, I pull out that old Bible, and I pull out a letter or two just to read them. Because what a joy it is to know people who are praying for you, people who are encouraging you, people who have spoken into your life. How grateful I am for their ministry. And yet, why do so few of us take the time to reach out and encourage others? I think maybe for one reason, we tend to be self-absorbed. We think more about ourselves. We don't really think as much as we should about other people. And maybe some people have never really been encouraged in their life. They've grown up in a discouraging environment, and so they don't fully appreciate what it is to be encouraged, to have someone come along and impact their life through the words, the positive words that they share. In the dictionary, the word encourage means to give courage, to give hope, to give confidence. And when I looked up synonyms, I came up with a number of them: embolden, cheer, measure, reassure, advance, promote, support, foster, rally, advance, fortify. All of those are active words and good descriptions of what it means to encourage. We all need encouragement. It's oxygen to the soul. We can't live very long without it. Encouragement, someone said, is biodegradable. It has a short shelf life. We get encouraged and immediately it dissipates, and we need more encouragement. Maybe we don't need as much as the little boy who said to his dad, "Dad, let's play darts." And the dad said, "Well, son, I don't know. How do you play darts?" And the little boy simply said, "I'll throw the darts, and you say, 'Wonderful.'" You know, we all love to hear those words. Wonderful, good job, you can do it. I believe in you. I love you. These are all choice deposits that many of us are fortunate to have in our bank accounts. My life is different, as I said, because of the encouragement that I've had. I remember when I was in Greenville, Pennsylvania, pastoring. I'd been there 3 years. It was in the 80s, and they were great people, and I loved the church, but I was just feeling like maybe God wanted me in another ministry. And maybe I had accomplished all that I could accomplish. And so I was going through a period of discouragement. And somehow the word got out that I was considering the possibility of looking for another church, and it was around Valentine's Day. And I remember receiving a week or so before Valentine's Day in the mail some cards and some letters of encouragement. Somehow word had gotten out, and these people were sending me love letters of encouragement, just wanting me to know how much my ministry had meant to them. And more letters came, and there was a deluge of letters the last few days before Valentine's Day. And every one of those Valentines screamed, "Tom, we love you. We're grateful for your ministry." Every one of those letters was a tremendous encouragement to me that even to this day I can never forget. And as I think about it, I get emotional because I love those people, and I still have a wonderful relationship with many of them. But those love letters changed my life and changed my ministry. And I knew at that particular point in my life that my ministry hadn't been finished there. And so I continued for another 3.5 years, and those years were among the most significant years of ministry in my life. Why? Because there were people there who loved me and encouraged me and affirmed me and let me know I was important. And how valuable that message can be to each one of us. There's a craving, said the psychiatrist William James, there's a craving in every single one of us to be appreciated. Paul knew the value of encouragement. In 1 Thessalonians 5:11, he said, "Encourage one another and build one another up, just as, in fact, you're doing." To the Ephesians, in Ephesians 4:29, he said this, "Don't let any unwholesome words come out of your mouth, but only that which is helpful for building others up according to their needs." The writer of Hebrews in Hebrews 3:13 says, "Encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near, lest you become hardened by sin's deceitfulness." What a great warning. Lest you be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. You need to be an encourager. You need to look for opportunities to encourage. Or Hebrews 10:24 and 25, "Let us not forsake the assembling of ourselves together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day drawing near." Are you all encouragers? Are you encouraging others? Are you being encouraged by the brothers and sisters in our congregation? What an important ministry every single one of you has. Every one of you is a minister. I always am telling people, every member is a ministry, and your ministry may be the ministry of encouragement. And what a wonderful ministry that is. But it's just not only in the New Testament, but when you go to the Old Testament, there are many, many examples of people who used encouragement to impact other lives. But when I think of encouragement, I turn to Proverbs. Proverbs 12:25, "An anxious word weighs a heart down, but a kind word cheers him up." Or Proverbs 16:24, "Pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones." Or Proverbs 25:11, "An apt word spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver." A number of years ago, when I was athletic director and chaplain down at Calvary Chapel in Fort Lauderdale, one of the teachers gave me a book. It was a book on encouragement, and I don't know where that book is. I don't remember the title of it. I don't remember who the author was, but I do remember reading something that was very significant in the first chapter of that book, and I wrote it down. And the author said this: the power of your encouraging words, spoken or written, could be the difference in the outcome of a single event or even one's life. Words are powerful seeds that will bring forth either flowers or weeds. You carry a great responsibility for their use. Yes, we all need encouragement. Mark Twain said, I can live for a month on just one single word of encouragement. When I think of encouragement, I think of Adam Clarke, who was a great scholar, Irish scholar and preacher. He was also the author of a set of commentaries on the Old and New Testament that is still in use today. And when his father brought him to a potential teacher, his father said to the teacher, I don't think that Adam Clarke is going to do very well in school. He didn't really think that his son had the academic ability to succeed. And the teacher looked at Adam and said to Adam's dad 3 words: he looks bright. He looks bright. And Adam Clarke said those 3 words significantly transformed his life. Someone believed in him. Someone saw the potential in him. Someone recognized his latent, unseen ability. Someone said it this way: the best way to cheer yourself up is to cheer someone else up. And I find that to be true. The best way to really lift yourself up is to lift others up. You see, when you push people down, you go down with them. But when you lift people up, you lift yourself up with them. People will go farther than they think they can go if someone thinks they can. And how true that is. How many successful life stories have been written because someone was encouraged. Someone came along at a time in their life when they were ready to give up and throw in the towel, and it was someone's word or words of encouragement that made all the difference in the world to them, and their life immediately changed, just like it changed for Adam Clarke. Much of my life I've spent coaching along with pastoring and participating in athletics. And I remember one coach who said a pat on the back is a few vertebrae removed from a kick in the pants, but what a significant difference between the two. I've learned to shout praise and whisper criticism. I've learned to praise in public and criticize in private. I've learned to encourage while the sweat is still on someone's brow. I don't want to be a tombstone encourager. I don't want to be one that holds back encouragement until it's too late and that person who might receive it never receives it. If you know the praise is due him, now's the time to give it to him, for he cannot read his tombstone when he's gone. And yet today I find that people are so critical. It seems almost as if people have the gift of discouragement. I hate to be critical, and then they go on to list a series of things that they're critical about. It's amazing to me that people can say they hate something so much and yet do it so often. I want to be a fire lighter, not a firefighter. I don't want to douse dreams. I don't want to dampen spirits. I want to set people afire with a passion. I want people to believe that they can do what many perceive to be the undoable. In that Greenville church that I just talked about, Following that experience, we initiated a ministry that had a profound impact upon the church. We put encouragement cards in the pews. And we encouraged people during the service to write a letter of encouragement to somebody in the church, or maybe not even in the church. And they put it in the offering plate, and they were turned in on Monday, and our secretaries went through them, and they simply addressed an envelope to the people to whom that encouragement note was written. And it was sent. And I can't tell you the impact that those encouragement notes had in bringing people together, mutually encouraging one another. You see, that's what we're called to do and to be. We're called to be mutual ministers. Sometimes I need you, sometimes you need me. Sometimes I'm weeping and you have a happy heart and come along and minister to me. And sometimes I'm the one that has the happy heart and I minister to you. We rejoice with those who rejoice and we weep with those who weep. That's what makes the body. And that's what makes this church such an unusual church. The president of Sloan Kettering Laboratories tells of his father, who was a country doctor. He carried a little black bag along with him. He didn't have anything of real medicinal value in that little black bag, but his son said people almost always got better just by being with him, because he would always put an arm around them and pat them on the back and encourage them. And as he would leave, he'd say, I think you're going to get better. You're going to get well. Just those few words, words of hope, words of encouragement, released a tremendous power for healing in the lives of that doctor's patients. I remember a few years ago when I was in Ken Laughlinghouse's, my oncologist's office. It was after I'd had surgery for colon cancer. And I was there with my wife and two of my daughters, and I didn't really know what to expect. My first conversation with him after the surgery. And I remember him coming in and graciously greeting us. And after a few minutes, he said, I want you to know what your prognosis is. And he said, you have stage 3B colon cancer. And I heard those words and I thought, oh my gosh. And even as I think about those words right now, I get really emotional. And I remember saying in front of my two girls and my wife, I said, Dr. Laughinghouse, I want you to know I'm going to do everything I can and fight with everything within me to maintain my life as long as I live. And he looked me in the eye and he said, we're not here to maintain your life. We're here to cure your cancer. And I can't tell you what those words meant to me. Hope. I had hope, and hope is such an integral part of encouragement. We all need encouragement. We as pastors need encouragement. And you're such a blessing, because I know how you've blessed Nick and how you've blessed Jared and how you've blessed me, but believe me, that's not natural for a lot of churches, because there are a lot of stories out there of pastors who have never experienced that kind of love and that kind of encouragement. Story is told of a pastor who was at a funeral for another pastoral friend. And this pastor pastors got up one after another, and they were sharing just positive notes and stories about the impact that this pastor had on their lives. The congregation was just filled to overflowing. One after another, they got up, and then finally one pastor got up and said this. He said, I wish that your pastor could be present to hear all of the wonderful things that have been said about him. He would have been encouraged by your words and by the size of this congregation that had gathered to remember him. And he said this. He said, empty pews broke your pastor's heart. If only you had told him how much you loved him while he was alive. Still might be here today. Don't be tombstone encouragers. Now's the time to say that word of encouragement. I know in my life there have been several instances where there was something that I wanted to say to someone, a word of encouragement, and God called them home before I could share it, and I live with that regret. Yes, pastors need encouragement and leaders need encouragement. We sometimes think, well, hey, so-and-so, he or she doesn't need encouragement. They've got plenty of people that are encouraging them. But as it's been said, it's lonely. It can be lonely at the top. A few years ago, I was watching a PBS documentary on Abraham Lincoln. And it was interesting to me what they found in Lincoln's wallet the day he was shot at the Ford Theater. Among some of the items, there was a Confederate dollar bill. There was a broken spectacle case that was tied together with some string. There was a penknife. There was a portion of a handkerchief that had been embroidered with the words A. Lincoln. But the thing that really intrigued me was the clippings that he had kept in his wallet. The clippings included a number of articles, but in one in particular was a speech that was given by John Bright, in which John Bright had referred to Abraham Lincoln as one of the greatest men of all times. And I'm sure that Lincoln, at times when he went through the trials, when he went through all of the challenges of being a leader in that charged period of time during the Civil War, I'm sure that Lincoln turned to those words and was encouraged to know that there were those who considered him one of the greatest men of all times. Shared with you that my Bible is my safe deposit box. Contains all of those treasured memories that some of you have written. The other day, I pulled out a few, and I pulled out one that I want to share with you. I read, this person who wrote me said this, "You are perfect in my eyes. You can ask most people, and they would tell you I talk of you with the utmost respect. There's a person in this world I would hope to be like. It's you. Your humbleness and compassion are beyond any I have ever experienced. Watching you over the past 25 years has taught me the importance of having Christ at the center of my life. Thank you for living a life that has led me to a saving knowledge of eternal life. You're a man of few words and many actions, and when you speak, people listen, but more importantly, when you act, people watch. They see a husband, a father, a grandpa, a pastor, a coach, and a friend who follows the Lord." Now, I know that because I've shared this, I lose any heavenly reward that I might receive. And I know I negate the humility that hopefully I still have when I tell you that these were words that were written by my daughter, Rachel, the day I stood in front of her and Drew and married them. And she read a similar message to Jean that brought tears to my eyes. and the same message to me. You think it was a little bit easier to be able to give my wonderful daughter to Drew after hearing such encouraging words? Oh, in my treasure chest, my repository of those treasured memories are so many cards and letters that are like that. But not all of you maybe are hardwired. I guess that I've always felt, because of the encouragement that I've received in my life, I've always tried to be an encourager. And Barnabas who's a great encourager in the Bible. Whenever we see him, he's always encouraging someone. He's my unsung hero. But I know not everybody is like that, and for some people it's hard to encourage others. And for those of you who find encouragement hard, let me suggest that you do this. That you take 5 pennies and put it in your right-hand pocket as you start the day. And every time you think of somebody and encourage them in some way, maybe a note, maybe a phone call, maybe a visit, whatever it is. Maybe it's just a casual encounter with somebody at the checkout counter at the grocery store, and you speak some word of encouragement in their life. Take that penny out of one pocket and put it in your left-hand pocket. And when you go home at night, check your pockets and see if you've encouraged people the way that you set out to do. That's a great reminder for each one of us who doesn't naturally find encouragement, something that we do. When I speak with people, there are always things that I keep in mind. I envision hanging around people's neck a sign that says, "Please help me feel important." Because everyone wants to feel important. How am I doing, Liz? I managed to. You know, it is so important that people feel important. I often will say to them, do you know what I like about you? And during the course of the conversation, I will note something that's unique about them, something that stands out. Maybe it's their smile, maybe it's their wisdom, maybe it's one of a number of things. And I'll always mention that to them. Do you know what I like about you? And then I'll go ahead and tell them. I try to envision that everyone has a 10 written on their forehead, that they're special, that they're important. I want to be more interested in them than have them more interested in me. Be interested, not be interesting. And so that is so important. There are so many things that you can do to encourage people. A note, a phone call, a personal visit, a hug. Oh, what a tremendous ministry many of you are who are so comfortable hugging. We're a hugging church. And I wasn't like that until I met Barb Brilhart at Tower Hill, who was a nurse and was on our staff over there. She was a community visitor for our church, and I still remember the seminar that she put on the different kinds of hugs. And I remember the A-frame hug, where you lean towards someone to make contact with them. And there were a number of others. And I remember talking with Dan Herman, who's one of my close friends. Dan was the chaplain at Riverview and now is a hospice chaplain. And he talked about the importance of, when visiting people, of touching people, of holding people, taking their hands when. And you know, there are many people that never get held, that long for a personal touch. And what a way of encouragement you can be and you can provide by just putting an arm around somebody's shoulder or giving them a pat on the back or hugging them. I'm grateful that this church is a church of huggers, and I'm grateful for Barb Brilhart because she changed my whole life. I was never a hugger before I came to Tower Hill, but after that, there's no one that that I won't hug. Hugging is such an incredible ministry that says, I connect with you. I care for you. As a Presbyterian, I was very used to giving benedictions at the close of the service. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. You see, a benediction is simply to speak well of someone, to speak or to bless someone's life. And so the words that are spoken become active in their lives. Peace that you offer them is a peace that becomes active in their life. And it seems to me that we should go through life continually giving benedictions to people. Every opportunity, looking for a chance to bless somebody, to encourage somebody, to speak well of someone, because we never know how those words are going to impact and bless their lives. I close with a story about Dante Rossetti, who was a 19th century poet and artist. An elderly man once came to Rossetti with some sketches that he had done, and he wanted to know what Rossetti thought about the sketches. And Rossetti was a kind man, but he was also an honest man. And he said to the man, as he looked at those sketches, he said, I don't really see anything of great worth or great value. I don't see anything that shows a unique ability or potential. The man looked at Rossetti as if he wasn't surprised, and he wasn't, because he knew that his work was not that significant. And so he apologized for taking Rossetti's time, but then he said, just one more minute, would you mind looking at a couple of additional sketches that I want to share with you that were done by a young man? And Rossetti said yes. And Rossetti looked at those sketches and he got excited. He said, wow, the person that did these sketches has tremendous potential, has got a valuable career ahead of him. Who is it? Is it your son that did these sketches? And Rossetti said, no, it's not my son. It was me 40 years ago. But I gave up too soon, and if I'd only heard your praise then and not now, oh, how different my life would be. But I gave up too soon. It's always too soon for people to quit. And when people are contemplating giving up and quitting, that's the time that you're needed in their lives to come alongside and be the wind beneath their wings, not an anchor in their boat, not dragging them down, but lifting them up and encouraging them to become everything that God has called them to be. Let's be the wind beneath other people's wings. Let's lighten people's loads. Let's help send people flying. I close with Proverbs 16:23 and 24. I didn't read verse 23 when I quoted that verse. But Solomon fully understood the value of words in promoting success, and he said this: a wise man's heart guides his mouth, and his lips promote instruction. Then he went on to say, pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. Let's ask God to help each one of us use our tongue in a way that promotes healing, that lifts others up, that encourages them, that helps them become everything that God wants them to be. And let's ask God to give us the wisdom that our words are always like the wind, and our speech always tastes like honey. Would you pray with me? Father, I pray that we might all be encouragers, whether we have the gift of encouragement or not, that you would instill in us a recognition that you've given us power to influence and impact other people's lives. We thank you for opportunities that we've had as we've interacted with others and those that have changed and impacted our lives because of a word or two that they spoke. He looks bright. I think you can do it. I'm so proud of you. You're such a blessing and an encouragement. Oh God, free our lips up to be the wind and the honey in people's lives, that lives might be different because of the encouragement that we offer. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.